Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Hollow Knight. Where, in this episode, this commentary, I will be finding the last flames for Grimm. So it is more about exploration. I will be exploring Hallownest, finding the flames, and then bringing them back to Grimm, and then seeing what that has in store for uh, the Pale Knights, as we call them. I don't think the actual. Do we actually give the main knight that you play as a name? I've just called him like Knight. I haven't really called him anything else. Food for thought. I'm pretty sure he's just called Pale Knight or Pale One or something like that. Don't actually know. But yeah, the goal is to go through Hollow Nest and find the rest of the flames. So that's pretty much what the episode is about. Um, Topics to talk about this time. So I'm just trying to think of what topics I could talk about. Unfortunately, um, when it comes to topics to talk about, I am running out of things to talk about. Mainly because right now, um, I'm literally just filling the void because obviously the original video lost their audio, and I'm just trying to think now. It's a tough one. Hmm. Uh, I know. Let's talk about movies. Let's talk about movies. I haven't really talked about movies much. So let's focus on some movies. So I'll talk about my favorite overall movie of all time, and it's a toss up between two movies, and said movies are Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and Blade Runner, director's cut. So I absolutely adore Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It was the first film that actually made me think about um, things that could happen in the world that might never happen, but it's still a fear there. Say for example with um, like a nuclear strike, for example, or a nuclear bomb going off, is a very real um, possibility, but the likelihood of it happening now is very, very slim. But it put that thought in my head. I was like, well, they could do that, and that scene struck is still stuck in my brain to this day, where just seeing it go off and everybody just become literally blown away. It's definitely a sight that that was quite worrying to see. Not gonna lie, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong, like it's fun. It's a fun film. Uh, um, I love the Terminator as a character, both T1000 and the T800, because obviously the T800 from the first film evolves into the second film as being like, well, he's working for the Resistance now because he's been captured, you know, things like that. whereas the Resistance, you don't really feel their presence in the films, but you sort of feel it in the second one more after the first one. And the first one doesn't really give you much of an idea of what the Resistance actually is doing, other than fighting for their lives. Other than the scene that Kyle Reese plays in his head, where he's talking about how Terminators are literally look like humans because of how they're built and things like that. I thought it was really really cool. I thought it was such a cool concept. Um, but yeah, Terminator 2, really, really enjoyed that film. I enjoyed the ending as well. The T-1000 is such a terrifying enemy slash villain of a movie, where it's just like it's genuinely an unstoppable force, which got stopped due to random chance and luck. And because of that, I'm there thinking to myself, like, wow, like this thing is really, really, it's it it could have won. It could have very potentially won, and it wouldn't have made a bad film. Not gonna lie. Um, think of other ones now. So I've talked about Terminator 2 a little bit. The soundtrack for Terminator 2 is also really, really boss. Such a good soundtrack. You don't really notice it much, but that's a good part about it. It's more atmospheric than anything, and obviously the Terminator theme at the beginning, it's iconic. Now, Blade Runner. Blade Runner, I find a very very fun film because it tries to give you a glimpse of the world that it's based around, and it tries to do it in such a short amount of time. It's just a very lived in, despotic cyberpunk utopia slash dystopia, however you see it, and everywhere is bright as well as being fucking grungy at the same time. I love it. I love it. In fact, I actually enjoyed the film that much. I enjoyed Deckard as a character. He's not the best character. He's he's a protagonist. Definitely not completely good. He's not a saint, but that's kind of normal. Not everybody's a saint. Um, but I did enjoy Blade Runner that much. I actually went out of my way to get the old PC game of Blade Runner, and you know what? I did not regret it. I had a lot of fun with that game. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a lot of fun with that game. A lot of fun. Now, is it something I might look into getting again because I have no idea where my copy's gone? Maybe. Definitely maybe. I have no idea where it would be, but it's something I would love to get my hands on again. Just because I really enjoyed that game. Really enjoyed it. And then the best part about the game as well, like you don't play as Deckard, you play as someone else entirely, with other replicants to find. Very interesting story. And it's just really cool. I just really like the setting and the world. It was just really, really fun to play. And obviously, I got the vibes from the Runner film in this game, and it's so good. It's so good. I'm trying to think of anything else about Blade Runner in particular. Soundtrack again, top notch. The sound design is actually really good as well because it plays with a lot of sound effects that you wouldn't usually come across because of the settings it's in. But it's also very grounded. Like the guns sound like guns. You know, that glass breaking sounds like glass breaking. It's very simplistic in its design, but very you notice it, which is the point of sound design. But yeah, Blade Runner and Terminator 2, two of my favorite films. Now, I do. Let's talk about other films. I do enjoy Disney. You know, I'm not one of those guys that's gonna like sneer and lift my nose up at Disney. I actually enjoy Disney. I enjoy Pixar Disney mostly. I don't like everything that Disney does, but there are like some films that Disney do that I feel are worth mentioning. Like out of recent films, like a lot of people not big fans of. Like I really like Encanto. I thought that was really really well done. Very much a musical Disney film, but based on an actual familial family issues, like deep rooted issues as well, which a lot of people don't usually touch upon that much, which I thought was really nice, and it's really cool to actually see them try and tackle this sort of issue. Um, so I really, really enjoy Canto. Also, the music is super catchy. Like Pressure was one of my favorite songs from that film. I thought that was such a good song. Um, I like the newest film as well, Wish, that just recently come out. I thought that was a really good film. Um, I don't understand a lot of the hate that it was getting from people saying, "Oh, look at Disney now." Ho, ho, ho. It's like, it's not that bad. It's Disney. Like it actually made sense, you know. Which it is what it is, you know. Nothing too fancy. Nothing too breaking the mold. It's just there, you know. Um, I'm trying to think what else. Favorite Disney films, I would probably say I've got I've got a list. So in my childhood, it was definitely Homeward Bound and Homeward Bound 2. Now, I don't know what it is about those films, but I just really, really enjoyed watching them. It I just love Chance. The character of Chance the Bulldog was just so great. I thought it was so funny, thought he was great. Loved it. Um Growing up, I found Fox and the Hound and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The Hunchback of Notre Dame more so because the music in that was so different at the time. I've never heard anything like it. Especially Hellfire. I I was shocked they even made that into a song, even at that age of like 10, 11 or something. And I was there. I was like, this is actually creeping me out. And this is a Disney song. This is from a Disney film. That I don't know what to make of it. I really enjoyed it. I thought Hunchback of Notre Dame was really, really good. Um, Fox and the Hound, there wasn't a lot I could say about it other than I just enjoyed it. It was a very interesting premise of a woman basically adopts a fox and then has to release it in the wild. I thought it was interesting. Um, Trying to think of any others now off the top of my head. Toy Story. Toy Story is a big one. See, I never watched the first Toy Story until after I watched Toy Story 2. And I went out of my way to watch Toy Story 2. Um, so, Toy Story 1 was like I need to see it now after I've seen the second one. And I really, really enjoyed both the first and the second one. Toy Story 3 was alright. I enjoyed it. It's not a bad film. It's not one that I actively go out to watch, though. Toy Story 2 is probably the one that I would watch the most out of all of them. I have seen Toy Story 4. It's all right. There's not much I can say about it except it's all right. Um, just trying to think of any other Disney films or Disney Pixar films that I quite like. I enjoyed Big Hero 6. I wasn't that massively into it. Um, I watched Frozen. I wasn't much for it personally. I don't get the hype around that one. Um, Brave was a cool one. I enjoyed Brave. Um, just trying to think, is there any that really? Ah, yes, Lilo and Stitch. I adore Lilo and Stitch. Stitch is such a funny character. The humor in Lilo and Stitch is like spot on. Really enjoy it, and it would be something that I would actively look for as well. Um, what else? What else? Monsters Inc. is all right. It's not too bad. Um, prefer Monsters University personally. Any others now? Pirates of the Caribbean, because that's technically Disney. Um, I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the first, second, and third. I know there are more films after that, but I never got around to watching them, so I have no opinions on the ones after three. But enjoyed the first one. Thought the second one was interesting. The third one, it got a little bit too complicated for me, but I still enjoyed it. It was a good watch. Um, trying to think now. So I enjoyed 101 Dalmatians, both the um, what's the term now? Live action. There we go. Both the live action and the animated films. 101 Dalmatians is really good. Another one is Aristocrats. Aristocats. Love Aristocats. O'Malley is such a funny goofball of a cat character. I love him. Um, I think that's it for films that I really enjoyed. So I liked Aladdin, but it's also one of those where it's like, yeah, I've watched it now. But I've not really gone back to it. Same with Jungle Book. Same with Lion King. Lion King is more rewatchable for me, but it's also another film that I don't go back to. Tarzan is one that I do go back to. Though I do like Tarzan. Can't think of any others. I really can't. Okay, that's me talking about Disney for quite a while. So I'm gonna talk about what other films do I enjoy. Well, I've talked about Blade Runner, talked about Terminator 2, talked about a lot of Disney films. Um, if we talk about, say, for example, Marvel or DC films, I enjoy them. I don't go out my way to rewatch them or anything though. If you were to ask me what's my favorite Marvel film or anything like that, I would it would be Guardians of the Galaxy or Spider Man. I like the Spider Man, but that's because I just like Spider Man in general. Which actually brings me to Spider Man No Way Home, where you've got all of the previous Spider Man and villains in the series coming back. I thought, yes, I know it's a huge nostalgia trip. I know what it was doing. However, I didn't care. I enjoyed my time with that film. I thought it was really fun, and it was also nice getting to see like the villains get not redemption, but in a way get some closure with being like, instead of dying, they can be like, oh, I'm not the Green Goblin anymore. I don't have that stupid voice in my head, or Otto Octavius with his with the tentacles going. They're not talking to me anymore. They're not making that insistent noise. I can actually think for myself. I thought I thought it was genius. Really well done. Really well done. Guardians of the Galaxy. It's mainly for Rocket Raccoon. Always has been. And then when they centered the film around him in the third one, I was so happy. I was so happy. I thought this was such a good film for that. Oh, thing is though, when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't like the second one that much. It was alright. I liked the first one more, but the second one just felt a bit, eh, felt a bit off to me, and I don't can't really explain it other than there wasn't really much happening. But yeah, interesting. But that's with Marvel. If you ask me about any of the others, I've watched them, but it's again not something that I go out of my way to watch again. Um, I've watched all the Avengers ones. They're all right. Um, the Infinity War and Endgame were probably the better ones for me, and I didn't like Endgame that much. Not gonna lie. Um, Captain America films are really good. I didn't like the Iron Man films much at all. I wasn't a big fan of the Black Widow film either. I'm trying to think. The four films, like the first four, didn't like Thor Dark World. I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. It's very hit and miss. I haven't watched Love and Thunder. There is a reason why I haven't watched Love and Thunder, and that's because I just never got round to it. And I don't know. The trailers to me just didn't excite me about it. So I can't really explain fully why. It just didn't feel trailers didn't give me the impression that this is going to be a good film. I saw it and just went this is just another Marvel film, and it didn't grab me, unfortunately. I'm still waiting for a new Spider-Man because that'll be amazing. But other than that, I'm literally just waiting around. DC, not the biggest DC fan. I like the Batman films. That's about it. I'm not the biggest DC fan at all. It's if someone asks me about DC, the only um, character that I'll bring up is Batman. I don't care about any of the other DC heroes or villains as long as it's in the Batman universe. I am fine with that. And it's not because I really like Batman himself. I actually don't. I actually prefer the villains. I think the villains are really good in the Batman universe, and it's because of how, to put it very politely, absolutely batshit bonkers they are. All of them. They're all crazy in one form or another. Over another. They're all crazy, and it's because of that. It's why I enjoyed the Batman ones. I remember, when I was a little boy, I had like a box set of the animated series, Batman the animated series, and you know what? It was really good. That was my introduction to Clayface, and still to this day, I think Clayface is the most terrifying villain in the Batman series, just because of him being able to shapeshift the way he does. Um, Trying to think what else now. I also had a film as well, but I can't remember the name of it. I just remember there was this very Iron Man looking mask in it. I think it's like something like Phantasm or something like that. Phantasmal. I'm not too sure. I'd have to look into it again. But yeah, I thought the Batman the animated series was really good. That's something that I would love to watch all the way through to see if there's any episodes that I never got to see. That would be pretty cool, and something definitely on my to get or to watch list. That would be nice. Trying to think what else now. So films. I'm still thinking about films. Unfortunately, there's not really many films that I actually genuinely like. The ones that I like, I've already got. That kind of thing. So it's one of them. Um, I like films done by the director Edgar Wright. I've got Hot Fuzz. I've got Shaun of the Dead. I haven't got World's End, mainly because when I watched that, I wasn't that big of a fan, so I just never bothered with it. So I don't have that in my collection. I've got Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's alright. It's an alright film. I much prefer the comics. Um, I much prefer the comics, but the film was the film was good for what it was, so I don't mind that. I got a lot of martial arts films, well, like Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Donnie Yen, um, names. I'm not good with names right now. Tony Jaa, um, Sammo Hung. I've got a lot of martial arts films. Like, really love them, and they're nice to just watch because there is a storyline to them. It's not just fighting. It's very dramatized. It's very like soapbox sort of soaps drama, which is like British TV drama, and they are good for what they are. Um, what would my favorite be out of all of them? Um, I don't know. I would probably go with that is a tough one. I'm gonna go with Warrior King with Tony Jaa. I thought Warrior King was really good. There's a second one of that, and I still need to watch that one properly. I really do. Um, just trying to think now. Yeah, I'll get around to watching that second one at some point. Don't know what it's about. It's gonna be something I have to look into. But Warrior King, really good, really fun film. Then you've got Ong Bak from the same guy actually, Tony Jaa. I thought Ong Bak was really good. I feel Ong Bak was very brutal in its setting as well, which is really cool. Yeah, I love my martial arts films. If I'd have to pick a favorite Bruce Lee one, if I'd have to pick a favorite Bruce Lee film, it would have to be The Way of the Dragon with his name Chuck Norris. I thought that was really cool. Um, so that was that. If I pick one for Jackie Chan, it would be Police Story or Police Story 2. I really enjoy those ones. If it's Jet Li, The One. Don't know what it is about that film, but The One is really good, and it really tickles what I like about Jet Li. There's loads of others, but The One for some reason just feels good to watch. It's a good watch because it's not all about martial arts. It's about time travel and stuff like that, which is really cool, especially for a martial arts film. Um, if I have to pick one by Donnie Yen, it would have to be. I would go with Ip Man. Ip Man the first. And what's that other one now? That's gonna do my head in if I don't find it. I think it's Meltdown. I believe it's Meltdown anyway. Meltdown was a good one. Trying to think. Pretty sure it's called Meltdown. Yeah, it's Meltdown. Meltdown's a good one by Donnie Yen. Um, Trying to think of other ones now. Tony Jaa has to be Warrior King and not back. I thought they're just so good. They're just so good. I'm trying to think. I can't think of any others off the top of my head. So I think I'll end the martial arts part of this video for now. And what I'll do is let's talk about horror films. Now, I like horror. Not as much as Fanatics, but I do enjoy a good horror film. Now, unlike unlike some of my friends that are massively into horrors, I only know a few, and uh, they're still good for what they are. Hold on, I'm trying to think, but my brain has gone blank. Bear with me a moment whilst I regain my thoughts on horror films. Right, so I've only watched the first Nightmare on Elm Street. I haven't watched any of the others. I've watched a few of the Friday the 13th. I've watched a few of them. Can't really sing out a favourite of Friday the 13th. Saw. I've not really watched much Saw other than Saw 1, 2, and 3. Scream, I've only watched the first one. And no, tell a lie. I've watched the first, second, and third for Scream. Not watched any of the others. Uh, think. I've watched the Alien films. I quite enjoy the Alien films actually. I suppose Terminator is classed as horror. I mean, technically, yeah, it would be classed as horror. It's not something that I particularly go for when I think of horror, though. But I suppose it counts. Um, I don't think. I can't think of any more off the top of my head. Not right now, anyway. Um, Come on, Jordan, you can think of some. I, I can mention some horror films that I haven't watched. I've not watched Wrong Turn. I watched the first one and went, nope, that's not for me. It just felt wrong for me to watch. Really, really upset me physically. Um, I've mentioned Alien, haven't I? Okay. Predator. I've watched the first and the second one. I've not watched anything else to do with the series other than Alien vs Predator and Alien vs Predator 2. That's it. I haven't really watched any more to do with them. Um, hmm. You know what? There's probably loads of horror franchises that I'm missing out on now, but I just can't think of any. It goes to show how much that I'm not really sorry for you. How much I'm not really that into watching films. Because I'll happily watch a film if someone puts it on, but at the same time, it's not something that I go out of my way to watch unless it is Terminator or Blade Runner, for example. You know, it's not really horror. Isn't really a genre that I run towards. Just isn't. It's not that I hate it. I actually enjoy it. It's just some. It's just one of those genres I don't specifically look for. I'm trying to think of other ones. I've watched the Blair Witch Project. Wasn't that big of a fan. I thought it was quite boring. It was interesting, but it was boring. Um, I've watched that Quarantine. It was all right. Um, I can't think of any others now off the top of my head. Oh, that's gonna really annoy me. That's gonna really annoy me. Watch The Thing. Yep, I've watched The Thing. Both the new one and the old one. I prefer the old one. The new one is all right. The new one's all right. Wasn't amazing. Um, the old one still a classic to me because it's who is it, and I love that because you need to find out who the thing is. It's such a clever way, such a clever concept, and it's still used to this day because it works so well. Um, Zombies. I've watched Dawn of the Dead. I've watched The Hills Have Eyes. I'm trying to think of anything else. There's probably loads more that I'm missing off now. I've mentioned Shaun of the Dead. I see that more as a comedy than a horror, but it's a horror comedy. It's a mix up of the genres, so it's got that going for it. Um, Zombieland, same thing, mix of horror and comedy. I quite enjoyed it, to be fair. Um, Technically, I suppose Helsing is a horror. Van Helsing, I suppose that's horror. That was all right. I wasn't too bad a film. So it's got that going for it. What else? I really enjoyed. Oh, what was it called now? Come on, brain. Underworld. So I personally don't class Underworld as horror, but it's got the gothic slash horror elements because it's with vampires. You know, that's pretty cool. Um, suppose I could talk about just random films in general then, because I can't think of any more for horror. I am out of ideas for horror. Um, so I've mentioned Underworld. Oh, I guess I can talk about the Matrix then. I enjoyed the Matrix. Very thought provoking when comes to the internet of the future with machines completely in control and things like that. Very interesting concept. Um, Now we've got. I can't think of any more off the top of my head. That's gonna really bug me. That's gonna really bug me. Uh, I've mentioned Underworld. I've mentioned Matrix. Come on, brain. There is loads more. There is loads more. No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head now. Right. segue back to the video with Hollow Knight. So, I have just had a fight against Nightmare King Grimm, and he whooped my ass. He completely annihilated me. He is tough. Now, Nightmare King Grimm is definitely a challenge, and it will be a challenge that I will come back to. Um, he is incredibly tough. So for the rest of this video, what you'll be watching is me attempting to take Nightmare King Grimm down. So I'll let you guys watch that. As for what we'll talk about series of films that I enjoy. Mentioned the Underworld. Mentioned Matrix. The Punisher, I suppose. He's had quite a few films out now. I enjoyed them. Um, Noticed that all the films have got some like angst in them. I guess that's what I'm into. I guess I like the edgy stuff. Um, I'll I really enjoy the Harry Potter films. Now I've read the books, I've watched the films, and I will always go back to the films because they are a fun watch. However, I won't deny that the books are very different to the films, literally due to characterizations of the said characters of that the books are surrounded of are about. It's just how it is. Like Ron is very knowledgeable when it comes to the magic world and things that are going on with it, but in the films doesn't say anything about it whatsoever. And it's a shame. It really is a shame because they could have done so much more with that. But I will still always go to the films because they're enjoyable to watch. Um, so that's Harry Potter. What else? There's the Percy Jackson series. Wasn't too big of a fan of the films personally. Much prefer the books. I've actually just got myself a new copy of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Um, so I'm looking forward to actually reading that when I get a chance. They did make a film for one of my favourite book series, which is Cirque du Freak, the saga of Darren Shan by Darren Shan. Uh, Unfortunately, the film they tried to condense all of the series into one film, and it's 12 books, and it just doesn't work. It just didn't work. I was so gutted. I was there thinking to myself like this could be amazing, and it ended up I wasn't a big fan. The one redeeming thing about the film, though, which I still find hilarious to this day, is the fact that the actor that they got to play Steve is literally the main character in the new Five Nights at Freddy's film, and there's just this one scene of one of the guys in school literally bad mouthing Darren, and Steve just literally just twats him one straight, socks him one straight in the face, and it's just so funny. I don't know why I find it so funny. I just do. It's just so funny to me. But at the same time, it's just so good, so good. It's a good film. It really is. It's a good film, and I hope that they eventually do the series some justice because it deserves it. It deserves, a good time. And I can't. I'm struggling to think of other things to talk about. I mean, I've been on films for a while now. In all fairness, which isn't too bad. Talking about films is good. But yeah, so trying to think now. I've talked about Harry Potter. I've talked about Underworld. Talked about Matrix. Are there any more I can think of when it comes to films, movies? Can't recall. Can't think of any. Yeah, I generally can't think of anything. That's kind of worrying. Hmm. Wonder. No, I'm a little stuck in thoughts now. Um, Let me have a think. So we've had we've had a couple of games that got film adaptations, haven't we? There's a few that always stick out to me. When it comes to recently, is definitely the Sonic the Hedgehog films. They're actually really good for what they are. I thought they were really well done, especially the second one. The second one's really, really good. Just get stuck in, which is what you want, really. Um, Trying to think of others now. I know there's a Super Mario Bros. Movie. I've watched it. Wasn't that big of a fan. I really, really wasn't. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's just not for me. Um, I just didn't think it was that good. Uh, think of others now. There's the Doom. Doom had a film adaptation. Um, Thought that was really, really good. Like it's not exactly Doom, but it's in the Doom universe, and it was a fun watch, especially with Carl Urban as like the main actor. Like Carl Urban's such a good actor. Like he's in so much. Like Lord of the Rings. That's another film series I forgot to mention. Oh my god, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is amazing, and no one will can tell me otherwise. It's that good. Um, think. Struggling to think now. Um, I've just mentioned Lord of the Rings, and it's thrown me off. I was talking about video game films. I remember the old Street Fighter film. All right, I remember the old Street Fighter film that they did with Jean Claude Van Damme and Kylie Minogue was in it, and then what's his name now? Oh, that was really gonna do my head. And they had him playing Bison. He's such a good actor. He was Gomez Adams as well. Raul, not Raul Kerr. Um, I'm gonna have to look that up. That is going to bug me. That is going to bug me now. Um, Let me search him up. No, is it Raul? If I type in Gomez Adams actor, so it's not Louis Goodman. It's not Oscar Isaac. Uh, that's him. What's his name? Come on, tell me. Come on. Raul Julia. There we go. Raul Julia. Yeah, Raul Julia was in Street Fighter, and you know what? He stole the show. He was amazing. It was just quite a few, there was quite a few lines that he came out with, which was just like that is very much what Bison would say, and I loved it. Loved him for it. It was really really good. Unfortunately, Raul Julia is now long been since deceased, but he's left an impression on me because he was such a good actor, and he was really really fun, especially fun to watch. But yeah, we had the Street Fighter film. It's so bad it's good. Is the best way I can put it. Um, I'm trying to think of other films now. We had a Dungeons and Dragons film. It was all right. It wasn't amazing. It was okay at best. Um, I can't think of anything else really. Hmm. I mentioned Doom. I mentioned Sonic. We mentioned Mario now. There's gonna be There's gotta be loads more that I haven't thought about. I think Sonic's been one of the better ones. Really has. So I'm looking forward to Sonic the Hedgehog 3 when that comes out as a film. Right, that is actually the end of the video. So I am going to call the episode here, and I'll sign off. So thank you for joining me on this episode, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.